A while ago, well over 10 years ago, I experienced an incident. Now, what had happened was I was on holiday. When I say holiday, I mean I'd left my current country of residence and traveled to another country, and that other country had become home. So I was to travel back to my former country of residence. Does that make any sense? So, but it wasn't all work. It was partly on work capacity as well. So I knew I'd be staying for a few months. So what I did was I contacted an old childhood friend of mine. Now, this is somebody I'd known since my teenage years, right? So because he had this short-let apartment, at the time it wasn't really common, right? So it was like the one he had was like a building with different mini apartments, and on the first floor there were common rooms like a restaurant and a gym and everything. So yes, I traveled back and I stayed there. And to make my stay more pleasant, what he would do is in the evenings he would bring over his family, like his wife and kids, and invite other friends. So we had dinner together like every day. It was one of the best experiences I ever had, because every evening we would sit down and talk. We would celebrate our wins, talk about our achievements, our shortcomings, and everybody tried to help the other person in whatever way they could. It was an amazing thing. So long story short, one evening after we've had dinner, my friend had taken his family back home and the place was robbed, right? It was a horrible experience. I mean, they made away with so many valuables, money, laptop, phones, and everything. And I mean, thank God the situation could have been worse, right? So eventually my friend came back in and he got the police involved. Now, I remember something one of the policemen actually said. He said, these boys are very dangerous boys. And to be fair, I agree with him. But over the years, I've come to understand that these boys, as dangerous as they were, obviously, mostly because they carried weapons, were victims of, most of them, not all of them, were victims of their environment, were victims of wrong associations, were victims of circumstances. I mean, and then they've turned out to be that way. Like I said, not all of them, so they turned out to be that way. Now, one thing I didn't really talk about is that a week before the place was actually robbed, there was a young lady. She had taken up one of the rooms as well. And then she took a liking to one of our friends, right? And he was really flattered because she was so attractive. So what we did was we invited her to our table and everything. And don't forget, like I said before, it's a safe space. We talked about our achievement. We talked about everything. And we let our guards down around her. Turns out she never really liked him. She was actually an informant for those boys. So she got every information she needed to get from us. And then she went back to divulge it to those boys, In my opinion, this is the real dangerous person, because this is somebody that we let down our guards around. We didn't see that danger coming. We accepted it as one of us, as a friend, and we let down our guards and we talked about everything in front of her. And then, she got us in a lot of trouble. Like I said, the situation could have been worse, So what I'm saying is this. Dangerous people, in my opinion, are people that use tools that are meant for healing, for destruction. Say, for instance, a loving smile. You won't think that somebody who is smiling at you lovingly is actually thinking of how to take you down, right? For instance, a loving hug. You won't think that somebody that is giving you a warm hug, a loving hug, is actually looking for how to sabotage you. For instance, the good book, irrespective of your religion. Let me give you an example, right? So there was a time in a particular country, right, without mentioning names, there was a man that was a great scammer. He had done all sorts of bank frauds, all sorts of credit card stuff and everything, and they were never able to catch him. It was like he didn't exist. It was untraceable. So he had so many addresses and he could sign a signature, but the police was looking for him. Eventually, they were given information about his whereabouts. So his home was busted. Now, I don't remember if he was actually caught because it was a long time ago. But I remember that when they busted his home, what they found was a prayer mat, right? And on that prayer mat, there was a Bible. there was a Quran, there was the Torah and the Book of Moses, all turned upside down, and there was an inverted cross as well. So what I'm saying is, depending on your religion, these were tools that were supposed to be used for healing being used negatively. Most of the time, it may be difficult to identify a dangerous person because they are not carrying any weapons, right? And it's not written on the forehead. But there's some behavioral patterns that are major red flags that once you see them, it's easier to sense that it may be a dangerous situation. So the first one is people that provoke you intentionally to anger. Now, these are people that would push you, that will say things to upset you, that would annoy you intentionally to get a reaction out of you. Please don't get me wrong. Sometimes a man or woman, they do this to their partners. They want to get a reaction out of them. They want them to talk or argue or something just so they know where they stand in the relationship. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is people that use your reaction as justification as to why they're doing something bad to you. So they do something bad to you, and the moment you react, they play victim, and they use that reaction as reasons why they're doing something bad to you, right? The best way to identify those people is, even when you tell them something they've done wrong, they don't acknowledge it. The only thing they focus on is your reaction, because that's all they wanted out of you in the first place, so they can use it as justification to why they're doing evil, or they intend to do evil towards you. The next point is morally bankrupt people. Now, let me give you a good example, right? Imagine you're a lady, just as an example, and another lady tells you that, my friend's husband is asking me out and is really rich, so I'm going to date him in secret. No, don't worry, I'm not kicking out my friend from a matrimonial home. I just want to enjoy the husband's money. You know, back in the days, believe me, I would have carelessly laughed it off, because I'll be thinking to myself, well, this person is too close to me to do that to me. Or I'd be thinking that, well, when I'm in a relationship, I won't bring her anywhere close to my relationship. But the thing about morally bankrupt people is, if they don't get you one way, they will always get you another way, because these are people that can do anything for a dime. Your best friend in the morning can turn to your worst enemy by evening, as long as the price is right. To give a good example, let's look at the story of Judas in the Christian religion, right? So there was a time Mary Magdalene came to Jesus and she washed his feet with expensive oils and perfumes. And Judas started to complain like, oh, these are perfumes that we can actually sell and make a lot of money. It is safe to say that Judas was concerned about that, because amongst the disciples, he was actually the treasurer, the one in charge of the money. And, you know, to be fair, a good business-minded person can actually think that way as well. But the truth is that everything does not evolve around money. It's like people that say, oh, why do people contribute financially to their places of worship? Why would they give them money? The money is going towards this, it's not going towards that, it's not going towards this and that. Forgetting that when they get to their various places of worship, there is light. The environment is conducive enough. The environment is clean. Now, the electricity bill is not going to pay itself. The building is not going to clean itself. These are financial obligations to their places of worship, irrespective of the religion, right? And the act of giving back is a sign of appreciation for what you receive from there, mentally, emotionally, morally, and spiritually as well. So whilst it's easy to make excuses for Judas, what happened eventually? He sold Jesus out for money, and he did that with a hug and a warm smile. What I'm saying is, bankruptcy is bankruptcy. There's no excuse for it. And finally, these are people that use your own words and actions against you to set you up to either take a fall or to lose an opportunity. Now, I know a thing or two about this, because I experience a lot of the time, a lot of smiling faces seeking to use my words and my actions against me. See, you won't believe how many significant opportunities I've lost based on lies and false narratives. I mean, I have been said to be in relationships I wasn't even aware of, right? I mean, see, I talk to a man, right? And the next thing they say, oh, you know, that's the person she's dating. That's the person she's sleeping with. That's the person. And they chase away potential romantic opportunities, right? I mean, I once had somebody say to my face, a man say to my face, yeah, you told me we should date in secret. And I'm like, I never said that. No, you did, you did, you did, you did. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so assuming I actually said that to you, we never dated. So what would be the point of the secrecy? I mean, the whole point of him saying that to me was because that was what he said to other people, right? Anyway, so I talked to a woman and they go, oh, she's gay. You didn't know? She's actually gay. She's gay. She's gay. And then that leaves people looking at me sideways, right? I stroke a cat, for instance, and then they go, oh, she's a witch. You didn't know? She's a witch. I sign a card, a birthday card. I mean, because every other person is writing out their well wishes. And they turn around and say, oh, you want to give her a job? Oh, no, she just signed another contract this morning. You saw her signing something, right? Yeah, that was another contract this morning. Chasing away potential job opportunities. So this is something I've experienced time and time again. Anyway, the best example to describe this is to use the story of Jesus, right? So there was a time the Pharisees and a crowd brought a woman that was caught in adultery, brought her to Jesus. Now, the Jewish law states that when caught in the act of adultery, both the man and the woman were to be persecuted, right? But for some reason, they left out the man and they brought the woman to Jesus. And I'm thinking he must have sensed some sort of deceit, but he kept quiet. He went along with it. So they said to him, okay, so this woman was caught in adultery. What do you say to that? Seeking to use his own words and his actions against him. What they were really trying to do was to put Jesus in a position where he had to choose between gentleness and justice. Now, the thing is, if he persecuted the woman, he would be going against his own counsel of forgiveness. If he pardoned the woman, he would be going against the Jewish law and he'll get it. So either way, it was a lose-lose situation for him. He would either be called a liar or he would have to face the law. Thank God for the Spirit of God, right? What he did was he started to write in the earth. Now, it is wildly rumored that what he was actually writing in the earth was that he was writing the names of the Pharisees and their sins, and that was why they dropped all the stones and they walked away. But there's another theory I would rather lean more towards, and it's that based on the trace of his handwriting on the ground, what he had written in Hebrew was terra terram accusa. What that means is earth accuses earth. Now, what it is he wrote that to fulfill the text in Jeremiah 17 that said, those who turn away from God will be written in the dust. Now, the meaning of that is that because the word of God had stated, judge not lest you be judged. You know, and by standing there and placing judgment on that woman or judging that woman, they were already going against the word of God, which means they were all sinners standing there, you know. So, and then he went on to say that he who is without sin shall cast the first stone, you know. So, which is why I'm leaning more towards that theory. And what happened was they all dropped their stones and walked away. That was a very dangerous situation for Jesus, because if he had said the wrong thing or made the wrong move, he would have been severely persecuted. So basically, the same people that were originally designed to heal others were the same people seeking to destroy another. Namaste.